Welcome to Commander's Daily, everybody. I'm your host, Bob Matthews. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss an episode here. Your one-stop shop for everything going on with the local 53. All right, here we are. T-minus 1 day until the NFL draft. Hard to believe it's here already, isn't it? Adam Peters met with the media yesterday, and as you expected, he really didn't say a whole lot. So it's really hard to kind of tell what he's thinking, what the front office is thinking when it comes to who they're going to draft. One of the interesting things that he did say was because they've kind of laid down the base here, they can look at things like best position and best athlete available. And that's a good thing. So if you were trying to kind of forecast out what they might be looking for, what could they do if they even stay in the first round? Trading out and trading, for more picks is obviously something that they can think about since, they are picking 29. But again, you got to have somebody that's willing to trade with you. And this draft doesn't have a lot of big names and consensus, number ones there at the top of it. So it's going to be really interesting to see where things go. So when you look at the draft this weekend, here's what the Commanders have. They've got the 29th overall pick in round one. Then they've got number 61 in round two. They don't have a third round pick. They do have a fourth round pick, which is 128. Then a sixth round pick and a seventh round pick. Now, because there's a gap there between 61 and 128, that's what makes you think they would very seriously consider trading out of the first round, or maybe trading even further down in the second round if they could get an additional third, an additional second, something like that. They've only got two picks in the top 100. You'd like to try and get a couple of more. So it remains to be seen where they go, what they do, and how they do it. If you want to look at where they might be looking in the draft, look at the free agent losses in the offseason. Obviously, one of the biggest names, Jonathan Allen, defensive end Dante Fowler. We know that they're looking for edge help. Jeremy Chin, they lost to Las Vegas. I really wish they could have kept him, and Benjamin St-Juste. St-Juste, obviously, we don't think is a huge loss, but still, you got to replace him. Edge rusher, cornerback, linebacker, those are probably the top three positions of need. And as you know, we've been going through all of the positions for about the last week and a half or so. And today I want to focus on something that maybe isn't on everybody's radar, at least not in the first couple of rounds. But again, when you're in the position where you can draft best player available, maybe this kind of makes sense. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about when we start taking a look at safeties. Now, obviously, I say this because of the fact that, they let Jeremy Chin go in the offseason. Did sign Will Harris from the Saints to a 2-year deal. Slight downgrade from Chin, I think, which means they can always do better. Quan Martin is your really only established starter outside of Harris. After that, you start looking at guys like Jeremy Chin, fantastic special teams player, but, do you want to count on him starting at a safety spot? And then when you look further down the roster, it's more second and third year guys, somebody like Tyler Owens, can he, or Dominique Hampton, are those guys? And Adam Peters says that Hampton is one of the guys that they're going to look at next year, hopefully to make a big contribution. But you've also got to look at these guys in the draft, and that's why we're looking at safety, starting with, as you can see, Xavier Watts. So what's the book on him? Again, a little bit high, and a little bit high on the draft board, but a little bit low as far as a first-round pick. He really kind of falls in between. It would be a slight stretch, not a huge one, but a slight stretch if you went Xavier Watts in the first round. He's listed on PFF's big board at 36. So, again, I don't see the Commanders taking him, especially if there are other guys at other positions. But he's somebody you definitely have to consider at some point in time. They say he's the best ball hawking safety in the class. Very, very smart. He's got a good break on the ball. But again, he's looking at a day 2 pick more than likely. So again, you think about a day 2 pick. The Commanders first round pick. What is that really? You know, we at 29, it's an end of the day one, maybe it's an early day two pick. Again, he's a ball hawk, great hands, high IQ player, diagnosis plays pre and post snap very, very well, versatile in coverage, and was really good when he was asked to line up man to man. Now, he's got some tackling issues. Those did improve last year, but he's got to take better angles to the ball. And again, because he's not quick enough to recover when he gets beat. And bad angles, wow, that is just something that will scare the hell out of a defensive coordinator when it comes to a safety, because that's the guy that keeps those 15-yard plays from turning into touchdowns. But again, if Xavier Watts rather is there, think about it. He may be a guy to keep your eye on. Then we've got Andrew Makuba. And again, now this is he would be more of a day 2 or maybe a day 3 pick. Again, right now, Commanders only have that second round pick there in day 2. When you look at him, again, Makuba out of Texas, 62nd on the big board. So that's fallen right into the range where the Commanders are picking as of right now. Makuba transferred from Clemson to Texas for his senior season. 3 years of starting experience. That's very important. We've seen that Adam Peters and company really like guys with a lot of experience because then it's more of a plug-and-play situation. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time developing a prospect. He's a guy who can come and fit right in and give you snaps. Excellent athlete, fluid change of direction, top-end speed and space. Those things are very, very good. He's also very decisive and explosive, can transition out of a pedal, according to the scouts, really, really quickly. Flashes range, closing bursts, needs to take a little bit stronger angles on the outside run. Again, maybe that's something you're looking at. Also something that may turn the Commanders off. Not a player you want taking on bigger tight ends. And what are we looking at with the Commanders as far as the next few years? You got to have personnel that cause matchup problems for the Eagles. Maybe a safety who is a little bit on the smaller side isn't the way to go. But again, if a guy has got a high football IQ and he's a great athlete, is he too good to pass up, maybe late day 2 or day 3? Find out in a couple, won't we? Finally, want to take a look at one more, and that is Lathan Ransom. Now, Lathan Ransom would be more of a day 3 pick. Now, here's a guy who is, again, your big board rank, 89, was a really important player for Ohio State last year in their run to in their championship run. Known as a tone setter on the back end, disruptive force in the run game, according to scouts. Tenacity, physicality, he's got all of that. Great eyes, good anticipation, trusts his instincts, always seems to be around the ball too. And that is really important. You want a guy, again, that's out there as a safety, as a ball hawk. Downhill, aggressive runner, playing the run, and always looking for the punch out. Again, qualities that at least it seems like, can cause matchup problems again for the Eagles. And that's what this team is looking for now on defense. Some of the cons, they say he has trouble mirroring breaks and not a great burst to make up ground, doesn't possess high-end speed in the vertical game, and can struggle tackling in open spaces. But again, some of these things, can be coached up. The question is this a guy that matches up with what the Commanders need at a certain place and time in the draft? And the best part is we are going to find out all about that and the answers to all of those questions starting tomorrow for the next 3 days as the draft is finally here. We'll have one final draft preview for you tomorrow. Have a good one. Make it a great night. And remember, like the wise man once said, if you're out on your bike tonight, as always, do wear white.